Hey everyone, Carlos Tobon again with Jeff Piroozshad doing another ball review video. This time the reality check by Global 900.
So the reality check is it's a hybrid version of the solid reality, and the altered reality was Pearl. So this one's hybrid.
Correct.
Is it a little closer to the reality or the altered reality? Sometimes you get hybrids that are a little more smoother and some that are a little more Pearl, which is kind of this one.
I actually feel that this ball is cleaner and a little bit more responsive than the Alter Reality. I like my Alter Reality, but it definitely forced me into a lot more straighter angles. It tipped really hard off the spot, but it wanted to strain out in the back quite a bit. This one has a little bit better shape, better responsiveness to the friction. So I compare it closer to the solid type of shape.
So it's like a flippier solid reality.
Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing a race to 4 strikes as we've done before. I think this is episode 5 now of this series.
I believe so.
So we're going to see if we both strike, nobody gets a point. If one of us strikes and the other doesn't, then one of us gets a point, and whoever gets to 4 first wins. So let's get started. All right, this is something we pre-recorded, so we're just going to play it. Turn the volume off on that sound. So you see my first shot, I just way too far right. I thought it was going to hook back, but I just overthrew it a little bit. I guess I was a little amped up, had some adrenaline. That happens, I guess. So this is just a typical house shot we're bowling on, but it's a higher volume house shot, would you say?
Yeah, Green Acres Bowl typically has a lot more oil concentration and higher volume. And so what you're going to start seeing in the video is that early on we have quite a bit of responsiveness off the spot, but on yours it just got a little too wide, and you obviously are speed dominant, so the ball never made it. I have a lot softer speed like we've discussed in other videos, but you can still see that even after a few shots, because we only took a couple practice shots before that, it was already starting to carry down, and I really struggle getting the right shape on this lane with this ball. This is the type of layout. It's a 5 1/4 by 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. It's something that I actually use more for sport patterns than on a house shot, and you're going to start seeing the ball being very predictable and very smooth, round shape down lane. But that's not typically something that I would want to use on house shots.
Yeah, and this one, I decided, okay, well, let me get it out a little more to the dry, and it hit the dry, and it just auto hooked.
All right.
So I think your shot was something where the original reality probably would have struck on, because it would have rolled up a little sooner. And generally for me, I don't drill a lot of pin down bowling balls. Because of my ball speed, I want the ball to flare a little more and hook a little earlier. And those are two things that pin down balls don't do generally. They generally flare more, which makes them hook a little earlier, and they're generally more responsive. So I went through the face on that one. So now if you strike here, you can take a lead, and you do. So it is now going to be 1-0 Carlos. So we'll update that score.
On that shot, what I decided was, okay, I'm going to keep my angles a little straighter, and I want to let the end of the pattern determine where the ball is going to make its move to the pocket, but I don't want to be so far away from the pocket, and it worked out just fine. That's something that I would probably try to use or do on the fresh on most patterns, especially in a longer pattern with higher concentration volume. I would like to keep the break point closer to the pocket so the ball doesn't have to travel as far at the end of the oil.
Okay, so I thought here, okay, well, I need to not get it out so far. There's no way I can get it out to the gutter. And just inside of where I was the place I was getting that carry down, so I had to take a move more in and be able to just use my rev rate to get the ball to get back to the pocket. And I think I had to slow it down a little bit also because of the heavy volume of oil we have here.
I think that's a pretty interesting concept, and we both saw it similarly. And it's a good tip for viewers at home. On really wet, dry, longer patterns, it's probably better to be just closer to the pocket and not try to get the ball to do too much. I actually felt comfortable with the line that I decided to play. However, it just wasn't very clean off my hand. You can see the ball just never revved up off the pattern. I just go with the week 7, and we're tied 1-1.
I think that's why you see the pros on TV when they bowl on long patterns like shark or patterns like that. They're generally always playing the middle arrow or even further left of that, because they don't want to get the ball to go too far away from the pocket. So they could maybe play like 10 and point it, but unless you're Norm Duke and it's something that you're super good at, it's going to be challenging to get that to work.
I agree.
So now here I am, definitely amping that one up. Maybe overthrew it a bit. Also, for people who haven't seen this series yet, I don't have a reality check. I'm actually throwing Carlos's reality check. We drilled a turbo grip, switch grip thumb for me. His fingers are a little different than mine, and the span is close. And right here is where the kid on the lane next to us on lane 36 kicked the camera, which we unfortunately didn't notice until after Carlos did his next shot. So you're not going to get to see what happens at the pins with Carlos's next shot. It's probably a good thing, but so I didn't strike on mine.
And
so,
you definitely get to see the Cool Week shirt that I'm wearing.
Absolutely. So Carlos throws the ball. You'll have to take our word for it that it goes down the lane. And this is, I think, where I realize, oh, damn, kid kicked the camera. So let me take the camera and I will move it back. So here we go. Carlos left a flat 10.
Yep, it was very flat. I got it wide. I got it further away from the pocket. I didn't stick to my game plan. It didn't come off my hand the same, and I just flat 10.
So, sorry at home you don't get to see the flat 10. I'm sure you're not missing a whole lot. It's a flat 10. So the score, I believe, is still tied 1-1 because none of us have struck in a couple of shots here. So I think after my last shot, I realized that I just really overthrew that one a lot. So I want to say on this one, I slowed it down a bunch more, which for me isn't saying a whole lot. I throw it pretty hard no matter what. But yeah, I slowed it down a bit, and it got back to the pocket. Still didn't quite get there. I think for me, I'm seeing now what the pin down balls do for me. They make them very smooth in the back. And generally playing that far left is smooth isn't really something I'm going to want a lot of the time.
Right. However, I do believe that the dynamics of that core would probably give you, if you have an extreme drive to the right of that, I think that's something that you could actually end up doing in a tournament setting or something like that, where you just have to get out of that pair and not shoot 160. I think that you could square up and use the pin down ball to just allow you to do that. You can see I'm just not throwing it very good. I actually missed way to the right, and the ball is just uphill all the way to the pocket and never got there, right?
So I think later in the day we were bowling a little more, and you realized that you really had to get square on this lane. It was pretty interesting. You had to get very square, and I just had to wheel the lane with the same bowling ball. But I mean, that's what house shots do, right? They challenge you in different ways.
Yeah, this video, we actually shot it on lane 34. We're usually closer to lane 60, 59, and 60s where we have done the previous ones, or somewhere on the higher side. But it did play just a little different, right? And again, I'm going to blame myself. I didn't throw it as clean as I could. But for viewers at home that haven't seen our previous videos, we've always discussed that for me, bigger balls are typically better because it allows me to slow hook it a little bit more and cover more boards. Well, it wasn't the case in this video. It definitely didn't allow me for the miss to the right. I just never saw the shape properly, and you can see I'm just not.
Yeah, you're losing your balance a bit. You're really not getting into the ball at all. You're not giving the ball a chance to roll up.
And I think that for the viewers at home, it's also good for me to share that experience. And I'm sure you've done that as well, Jeff, where when you start losing your reaction, sometimes you try to fabricate it with your hand. You try to do something that is not natural for you. And so your form and your swing starts going away. So all of a sudden, now you're fighting bad ball reaction and bad mechanics. And it's definitely not a good recipe for success.
So if I'm smart, at some point here, I'm going to throw the ball a little slower. I think that might have been the one. I didn't get it as far out either. I'm thinking, okay, carry down is way further right than I thought it was. I need to keep the ball tight. So now I'm playing it closer to how I would play maybe a longer PBA pattern, where I'm just going to get in and stay in as much as I possibly can.
And definitely is not anything against the ball itself. I like the responsiveness. I've actually used this ball in some league setting competition, and actually won 17 bagger with it before. So I'm not totally disappointed with the ball. I'm not saying anything against it. It's just I didn't match up very well. I keep getting it too far right. Okay, that one was just a little slower. I had a better balance, and so the ball made it back to the pocket. But generally speaking, I just wasn't seeing the shape because I wasn't throwing it good.
And if people have watched my YouTube channel, they've seen the Storm Matchmaker video I did a couple of weeks ago. And I put up a video where I was just throwing different bowling balls that you guys had at that matchmaker, and the reality check was one of them. And that one was pin up. And that was one of the most down lane angular asymmetric balls I've ever thrown. So for this one to be so smooth, whereas that one was so angular, I think it just shows you how versatile this core is. If
Correct.
you want a symmetric, it's more of a symmetric type of smoother reaction, you can just put the pin down and it's very smooth and controllable. But if you want something where the asymmetric core just takes over and just makes the ball turn left, then the asymmetric core in this, putting it pin up, just makes it happen.
Correct.
So,
and it makes sense. You throw it harder, so putting the pin up and getting it to flare more is going to be more beneficial for you. Whereas I would actually use this ball pinned down when there's a lot more help from the lane to get it to change directions. There's obviously not that much help on this pattern or in this lane at this moment. And that shot was in hard, no hand almost whatsoever, and he just never saw it.
No, there's no question that this condition on this lane favored my game a lot. Like, there's no question about it.
And that's why you just took the lead to 3-1.
Yes, I did. I'm able to generate a lot more of the hook, basically just whatever the pattern is, just overpower it with my release, whereas you're a lot more dependent on getting the lane to hook and using that hook to your advantage. But this lane didn't really have very much hook unless you got it out to maybe the 2 board or something.
Right.
But then it was just instant hook, wet, dry.
Yeah, you're in your wheelhouse now, and I'm definitely struggling. I knew I was in trouble.
But that's a change. Usually with the bigger balls, like you said, you have more of an advantage with those, and the weaker balls I've done well with because I don't have to play as far left with them. But this one was a lot different.
Right. You actually got the ball to not change directions as quickly down lane, allow you to play straight, play to your strengths. And for me, it was the opposite. I just never got any shape down lane. And I think...
that shot, when you threw that shot, I thought, oh, that's a good shot. Yeah. I thought that was great off your hand. It hit where I thought the break point was, right around... Oops, sorry. And I guess that video's over.
Yeah, that was 4-1.
That was 4-1.
Absolutely.
Okay. So... that is 4-1, so I won that one. And what are your final thoughts about this competition there?
Well, I was pretty disappointed. I didn't throw it very well. I know that you even made a comment that you expected more of me when we compete because we still want to compete against each other. However, generally speaking about the ball itself, because this is what the end result or the end goal it is for us to make these reviews is. It's a ball that's very clean. I like how for a big core ball, I have something that it's very, very clean through the front part of the lane. I know that's, something a lot of people say when they're making reviews, but no, this ball actually gets down the lane and actually makes a nice move to the pocket once it sees friction, which is something that I want on my, if I had a 6-ball arsenal or a 5-ball arsenal, that's my 2-ball. Again, on medium, or longer patterns, but with more definition of the break point, I would definitely use this to get it to control the back part of the lane. If I needed to change directions, then I would obviously use a pin up. But I really, really like this ball. I like this piece. It's been very popular coming off the shelves at the pro shops. I want to thank Coolweek, Storm, Turbo, and obviously Chris Harbour and Green Acres for allowing us to do this ball review video. And thank you guys for watching.
So my final thoughts on this is, first, if you haven't seen my Storm Matchmaker video where I throw the reality check pin up, please go watch it. It's on my channel, which is Swish 710 Bowling. You can search for that on YouTube. And if you're a higher rev player like me, drill this ball pin up and just go to town. It's great for high rev players. This ball was fantastic for me. Pin down was a lot smoother. It's not something that I would do generally, but get yourself one of these, drill a pin up, and you're going to be pretty happy with what this ball does in the back end, I think. So until next time, guys, we've got another one coming. Episode 6 will be coming soon. And until then, we will see you guys next time.